G'day subscribers, today we're going to talk about the link between the first prototype Holden and the last two produced. You're with Jules Knight on Jive Talking Garage. So Holden started making cars and pumping them out in 1948 in November, 29th of November. And they made a total of 7,687,675 Holdens. So the last one, as we know, was a sedan, 48215. And the last two were red 2007 SS V8 Commodore red lines, both sedans, both red. They were closing the shop in Elizabeth in South Australia down, the factory, in October of 2007. And the publicised event was going to be held on a Friday to close it and have the last car come out the door and closing ceremony and photographers there and media and all that sort of thing. So here's where it gets really interesting. So there is a difference between a framed up car and an assembled car. Frame up is it's put together, it's all welded together, so all the panels are there, and then they are put together and spot welded into place to create a body shell and front suspension and whatever, and then it goes down the line. So it'll go from frame up to body on, body preparation. Then it'll be a case of components put in place, whether it be chassis and suspension, interior, engine, gearbox, all that sort of thing, and then wheels and panel fitment, and then quality assurance, and then whoosh, out the door it goes. So there were two cars at the end. So there's the promo car that we've seen all the pictures of, which was, and I've got it written its number down here, 333-542. So that's the number of it, 542. Now the framed up car, the last framed up car, which was the car behind it, it was 333-644. So its VIN was 102 tags after it. So you don't know whatever, the 100 tags were, distributed before it. So, there was 102 different, but 644 was behind 542. So they've gotten framed up. Well, the first one, the promo car, has been framed up, and then it's gone to the next station, and then 644 has been framed up, and it's following the promo car down the line. And so don't forget, they're closing a factory. They're not going to be making Holdens anymore. So all of these workers are facing redundancy. So in talking about the VIN numbers, Holden, they've had controversy before about body tags. Number one, which is what they have in Birdwood, where the promo car is, number one has got the body tag number 6 on it. So number one's number 6. But I don't know whether that's because there was 5 prototypes beforehand, and then the next one that was mass produced in the factory, well, that's number 6. I don't know, but it's got number 6 on it. I know I've seen it when I borrowed the car for the Nationals. But anyway, all of these guys in the factory are facing redundancy. Passing note, with the 48215, even though it was body tag number 6, its engine, because they start engine numbers at 1,000, it was 1,001. So they got that right. So promo car 452, and the last, let's call it Alex's car. Alex's car is behind it. So 452 and 6 Alex's car, 644, are following down the assembly line. They've been framed up. They've been spot welded. They've been body preparation. They go into paint. And then what happens is the promo car gets taken aside to be prepared for the event for Friday. And then the last framed up car, 644, it continues on to every one of its workstation to be fitted out for chassis and suspension, electronics, all of the components, motor, gearbox, diff, wheels, panel fitment, all of that. Then it's on its merry way. But the promo car, it's pushed aside, and then rightfully so, the promo car is the very last one out the door. But the promo car wasn't the last one that was actually framed up, because it was the second last. And so, as I mentioned, it was put aside for the special event and readiness for the Friday, and it was a big event. So Alex's car, the last one framed up, was assembled, completed, and dispatched on a truck, and I've got it going to Boren Holden in Dandenong in Melbourne. So Alex Kyriakopoulos is working on the assembly line and sees the 644, knows that it was the last one framed up, the last one spot welded and sent behind the promo car, gets put on a truck. So he's apparently, according to all of the articles, he's on the computer finding out who that car's been allocated to. And then he realises that it's allocated to Boren Holden at Dandenong, but it hasn't been sold to a customer. So while the car's on the truck heading to Dandenong, he rings Boren Holden, does a deal on the telephone with them. Yes, I'll buy it, whatever is the case. And I don't know the details, and it's not my business, and I don't really care. But the deal was, I'll buy it while it's on the truck. Wire you the money. Do not remove any stickers off it. Leave it how it left here. Do not take anything out of plastic, like seat covers and stuff like that, and whatever plastic's inside. Leave it alone. How it left is how I want to get it back, and we'll have the car sent back to Adelaide, which is dutifully what happened. Now, when you think about it, these poor guys, they're all being made redundant. There's no job. So he's got to go home, and from what I read, he's got to say, sorry, honey, I'm not buying a kitchen for you. You're going to have to wait. We're buying a Commodore instead. So this is where one of the Jive talkers has come in Metherall. He's a great philanthropist and also benefactor. He's an Australian, and he's done a lot for our country, more so than what people know. So he's arranged previously for prototype number 1. He's bought it, as well as the first customer Holden that was sold to Essendon Lewis, who was the Director General of the Munitions Department and also Managing Director of BHP. So he's gotten both of those cars at great expense, and they've ultimately been transferred to the National Museum of Australia, so that the museum has the number 1 prototype and the very first Holden that was sold to a customer. So Ian's contacted me, I think the Thursday or the Friday beforehand. So the Friday's 29th of January, because the auction was on the 30th of January, this 2021. And he said, basically, the auction's on Saturday. I'd like to talk about the pedigree of this car. I said, well, I actually know the story. And so we had a chat about that. And he said, I would like you to tell me what you see a lot of cars. Can you tell me what it's worth? And so in discussing the pedigree and the value of it, I did some analysis, and I gave him a range of $850 to $900,000. So that's $850,000 to $900,000, and then he wanted the my thoughts behind it, and really this is a heritage car because of set of circumstances around it. On the showroom they were like $50,000 to $70,000, and there was a little bit involved toward the end about trying to get rid of Commodores. So just prior to that, we had a heritage and personality car that had traded via auction, which was Jeff Thompson's GTHO. Now that was traded at $1,034,000. So when I'd given, it's some thought and some analysis, I'm thinking, is it $1 million car? And I thought, probably not. So this is 2021. And then I thought, well, is it a $900,000 car? So you've got to sort of work your way down then. 900? No. 800? Yeah, maybe. So does that mean it's between the 800 and the 900? I'm thinking, well, people with forecast budgets, round numbers or whatever. So I'm thinking probably $850,000 to $900,000 range. And that's what I reported back to Ian. And he wanted to know my logic behind it. Because he said, no, I need a number. You can't tell me a range. I need a number. Because what he wanted to do was, a car to bookend the very first number one that was made, which was registered as a Chevrolet at the time, as well as the first customer Holden that was sold and purchased, so on. So I said to him, when he wanted an exact number, I said, look, people have a budget forecast for what the clearing price is going to be. And if they have a lofty budget of, say, using my logic, and they will talk in round numbers, $850,000. Is it 900? No. Is it 800? Yeah, well, yeah. But is it somewhere between there? And Aussies are really people who have a gentleman's agreement to split the difference, particularly in negotiation. And they'll do something similar when they're working out the price. And if they get two bidders involved, after I'd already settled on 850,000, if there's two bidders involved and one's got a clearing budget of 850,000, well, the other guy, all he wants to do is just trump it by 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, and it's game over. So I said to Ian, okay, you need a price, $852,000. So he said, all right, well, look, I'll get you $850,000. You go to the auction tomorrow, get the car, and we'll put it in the National Museum of Australia so that the three Holdens can be together and they can sort of bookend, the first one made, first one sold, and the last one made. So can you just go and get it, please? I thought, that's pretty amazing, really. So I had to register with Lloyd's Auction House. And what that meant was putting $10,000 down. So did that. And then you're on involvement online, whatever is the case, with an auctioneer's assistant as soon as they hear that you're fair dinkum. And so I had the auction online. I had a telephone going with the auctioneer's assistant the whole time. And the only reason I was online as well was because if anything happened with the auctioneer's assistant, well, I could at least bid myself if I had to. And so that was one phone with her, and then the other phone was with Ian, and I like to refer to him as the money. So I got the auctioneer on one phone, and I got the money on the other. And so you got to wait for about 20 minutes for it to start, and they jig themselves around and get themselves organised. And bidding can be quite brisk, and it was up to about $300,000. And then you stay out of it until you have to. And because I'm thinking, well, we're just buying a red Commodore here. So I stayed out of it till about 300, I think, and then sort of got a bit interested, and I just sort of let everything slow down. Let's be calm about all of this. So it was a matter of using patience, guile, tact, and waiting. And then once it started getting fair income, well, then I was just trumping bids. Like if someone would say 315,000, I'd go 320. And they'd be, 330, 340. So bang, straight away they realised, we're not going to win this because someone's here with deep pockets. So that was what was happening. And by that time, I've sort of got the auctioneer talking to me, and she said, what is this going into a private collection and will never be seen again? I said, no, actually the benefactor wants to get it, and he wants to have it. He wants to get it and give it to the National Museum so that everyone can see it. She said, oh, well, that's different then. So straight away I had a friend on side then, and it was a matter of using that stakeholder engagement for her to try and help me. She said, well, look, I think the Transport King, he's your competition, and he'll have deep pockets. And I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. But the thing is, I've got someone here and they desperately want that car. And not only that, they want it for good purposes, and they're trying to do something nice for the country and for the museum. So it was a matter then of trumping bids. By the time it got to about $500,000, there was only really about two of us, if I remember rightly. And it was sort of matched bid for bid for bid for bid for bid. And I marched the bid up to about $750,000. And then the Transport King's gone, stuff this, $750,000. So I've said to the money, before I've hit either 760 or 800, just to show him who's boss, I've said to the money, what do you want to do? He goes, Jules, let him have it. And I thought, we've got another $100,000 in the tin there. And he said, well, look, there's two things at play here. Firstly, I'm selling him back the farm that I bought off him, or one of the farms I bought. So I want to make sure he's got plenty of dough to pay for it. And then he said, the other thing is, I'm glad that you were bidding, because the price has only gone to $750,000. He said, because if I were bidding, I would have paid over $1 million for that car just to get it. So thank you. So there you go. That's the tale of the involvement and the link between the very first prototype and the last Holden that was framed up, and also the story of the promo car and the last framed up car, and also the auction to sell the last framed up car. And that was probably, gee whiz, what are we talking about? 2.5, 3 years coming up after the car was first made. And I think at that time it had about 150 kilometers on the clock. So really interesting story. So it doesn't matter what country you're in, what car you follow, there are some really, really clever things as far as cars going to auction, stories behind the car, people that own the car, and people that go to auctions. But anyway, check us out on Facebook at Jive Talking Garage. Don't forget, share, like, and subscribe. But more importantly, enjoy your Holden.